This is Dan Dix here reporting for Press for Truth, and as you can tell by the title of this video, gold is on fire, ladies and gentlemen, hitting a high of 1,500. This is the first time in 6 years it's done this. And this is happening amid a kind of a global financial storm, really. We have a trade war brewing between China. We have a great deal of uncertainty happening in the EU with things like Brexit. We have this just out from The Guardian. Gold rises to 1,500 an ounce for the first time in 6 years. Rise comes amid concerns over U.S.-China trade conflict and European markets. The price of gold has risen to 1,500 an ounce for the first time in 6 years, as investors have sought shelter in low-risk assets amid concerns about the global economy. The spot price of gold has rose to 1.75 to 1,500.29. It's the highest level since 2013. Taking the metal's gains this year to 17%. Now, gold is considered a safe haven asset, and investors traditionally buy into the precious metals at times of economic and political instability. And joining me on the line to help us understand the ebb and flows of this precious metal space is our good friend John Sneisen of World Alternative Media. John, thanks for joining us here. I want to get your views on this, what you see as some of the factors that are playing in here to this spike in gold. I mean, it's nothing new. We've been seeing a rally over the last few months, but today is a key breakout number. So maybe you can start us off with what are some of the factors you see playing into why gold is seeing these record highs right now?
Sure, Dan. Well, first of all, thank me for having me back on here at Press for Truth. I love all the videos that you do. You are a great example, and unfortunately, you've been over the target a lot lately, being demonetized. So I greatly feel for you, and your audience is fantastic, of course, helping you out. I heard we had some great conversations. So just wanted to mention that before we go into all of this. But yeah, with gold, it's been interesting. It just bounced above 1,500. Like currently, as I'm speaking, it's at $1,507 per ounce. But that's, of course, the paper price. But silver has been even on a bigger rip today. It's up 4.42% as of right now, up at 17.18. This is US dollars. Now, I want to show you a chart because you said the highest in 6 years. Well, if you go and look at, because we're, your audience is a lot of Canadians, I think we should mention that the Canadian gold price is at a record high in history. And that is not just the case in Canada, it's the case in Australia, New Zealand, all over Europe, wherever you are, except for the United States. The gold price is at record highs because all this money printing around the world. And currently in Canada, the gold price in Canadian dollars are $2,004.08 as of current, as I'm looking at this. And the silver price is at 22.86. What does this show? And of course, they talked about the trade tensions between U.S. and China. That has a little bit to do with it. And then, of course, problems in Europe with debt. That has been an ongoing problem ever since 2008. But the biggest problem that not a lot of news articles are talking about, and it was actually that came out a couple today, where they were talking about a fear of a global recession. And the reasoning for this is that for people that have paid attention to this, and I have tried my best to do it, I've seen over the last month and a half that I've been looking at numbers, all the numbers that are coming out that are economic indicators and so on, they have been showing that they are in a negative trend, and especially on the inflation level. So what that means is that it seems like we're heading towards a deflationary state of the economy. And the reason for that is because we have printed so much debt over the last years. There's been, a tripling and almost quadrupling in the amount of debt that the central banks hold. Canada is one of the most indebted countries in the world, together with my home country, Norway, and Australia. There was recently the Visual Capitalist came out and showed the biggest bubbles in the economy was in New Zealand, Canada, and Norway. That was the biggest bubbles in the world in real estate, for example. So what you're seeing is an overindulgence on cheap debt that, of course, was enabled by the central banks, by the Federal Reserve, by the Bank of Canada, Bank of Norway, whatever central bank it was. They went on a money printing binge, and we haven't really seen the inflation in the economy as we thought we would. But the inflation has showed up in things like real estate and the stock market. That's where the actual real inflation showed up. If you look at the increase in the money supply, it's here in Canada, it's up the M3, which is all current in Canadian dollars. That is up 10% on an annual basis over the last 10 years since 2008. So what you're seeing is just this overindulgence on debt then, and it has become a real problem for the economy. And that's where you're starting to see so much volatility that comes and goes in the economy. And then, the last time in January, you had Mnuchin and Trump and everybody trying to come out and calm the markets down, say that, there was not a liquidity problem, Mnuchin said, which is like, was there a liquidity problem? Was there a problem with a lot of debt in the economy? I think it definitely was, but of course he had to mention that in kind of an Orwellian way to try to tell us, but then saying that there was nothing to worry about. It's really weird but you study these guys for a long time, Dan, and you know how they work and try to manipulate us into believing different things that their agenda is portraying instead of actually being a little bit worried about the state of the global economy.
Yeah, well, a good point that you made is to pay close attention to these guys, what these guys are doing. And a great deal of these people, these central banks around the world, are actually buying up a lot of this gold. What does that tell you when the central planners are hoarding it while kind of and stockpiling it right now? Is that a sign that maybe it's a good idea for others to do something similar?
It might be a good sign. Yeah, no, it's definitely a sign of the times. And of course, throughout history, we've always seen that having gold and silver throughout currency turmoil is a very good thing. If you study hyperinflations and even devaluations throughout history, there's always been a good way to preserve your wealth and as a insurance on your wealth to protect it from destruction that a printing of monetary fiat does over time. You've seen, of course, the big players like Russia, Turkey, China, India. They've been buying, and then a lot of other smaller central banks have been buying gold, as you said. But there's other stupid central banks out there, like the Reserve Bank of Australia has been selling off a bunch of their gold in order to prop up their terribly managed economy that they created themselves in a massive debt bubble as well that's been popping lately in the real estate markets in Sydney, Melbourne, and a whole bunch of other places in Australia. But what you see here is that they're positioning themselves, and actually me and Josh at World Alternative Media, which me and Josh do, Josh Sigurdsson do reports, we just recently came out with a video exposing that the wealth management side of JP Morgan have come out lately saying that this is our investors' position, which was I think it was something 80% in the US dollar. Then they said like this is what you guys should start to investing, and actually there was almost 10% gold now, which was under 1%, I think, on the last time they told their customers to make a move, and then the US dollar had dropped from 80 to 40%. So what is that telling us? Meanwhile, we have Trump, Mnuchin, and Powell out there saying that, the US dollar is the strongest in the world. But then the biggest bank in the world, the most systemically important bank in the world, is telling everybody to move into or move out of the US dollar substantially, almost cutting it by 50%, your holdings. I don't understand the contradictions there, but it clearly means that something is not right in the economy when the biggest bank, the biggest, baddest bank in the world, is telling their investors, their private investors, to make a move here.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think a lot of people out there are starting to recognize this. They're kind of seeing the telltale signs, and they're not only flowing into precious metals like gold and silver, but they're actually moving into various cryptocurrencies. In fact, a Bitcoin, the last I saw as of today, I'll just refresh the screen here. As of the making of this video, it's at 11,707. So it's having quite the rally in itself. John, do you see a correlation between some of the troubles in the world, the global uncertainty, and the rise in gold and Bitcoin? Do they correlate? Are people essentially putting their assets into gold and cryptocurrency as a hedge against the dollar crash?
Oh, 100% they are. And they also are hedging against all this other turmoil that you were talking about. We're talking about the trade tensions between US and China, all the problems with the banking system in Europe and Asia. You know, China has a severe banking crisis over there. All of this has to do with that we just printed way too much money through our fiat currency systems. And we totally have demolished the economy, the real economy. We financialized everything. And there's nothing, left in the real economy anymore of like businesses and corporations actually trying to put forward a good product or innovate or do anything great. We still have it, but it's so limited to what it could be if you actually had a completely free economy without the government. And of course, the major driving force, or actually the driving force, which is the printing of currency.
Mm-hmm.
So you have people, and this happens throughout history when you have the financialization of the monetary system throughout history. This happened also with the bubble. Sorry, I got a little brain fart here, but it's the Mississippi bubble. Same thing happened there as well. People were doing the same thing. They were leveraging themselves through the teeth. They were buying horse and carriages. Everybody was owning horse and carriages at the time. It's the same as, the crypto bubble that happened, which is, it's coming back from it, of course. But it's the same kind of mentality of people wanting in on, easy money and just making money with money because nobody wants to work anymore and do real work for the real economy. So you're having this strive to just be able to buy things, but you want to sit and do nothing. If you could, because there's nothing that incentivizes you to go out into the real economy. It's really sad, but I think some of the cryptocurrencies are hoping there's a lot of trading out there, unfortunately, and financialization that is happening of the cryptocurrencies. But I think the cryptocurrencies will also work in the part of destroying this old paradigm, and for us to be able to live without the need of a centralized control grid over our energy that we use, which is money that comes out of that energy being used for services and for everything that we do. Then I think we're going to be able to rise above that and become independent of the governments and of these banking entities for the future. And I think the cryptos, and I don't know if it's going to be Bitcoin or whatever cryptocurrency it is, but I think there is a future with the crypto and blockchain technologies to really eradicate, not eradicate, but really remove the strangleholds that these elitist entities have had on us throughout history.
Well, at any rate, it's going to require a great deal of individual responsibility. Just like in the gold and silver precious metal space, you have to do your due diligence. In the crypto space, it's really no different. You have to know what you're talking about before you want to invest. Now, John, you actually have a conference coming up very soon in October that is doing just that. It's educating people about how to use cryptocurrencies as a hedge against all this stuff that we're seeing. So maybe we could just talk a little bit about that in closing, because I think it's really important, the correlation we're seeing between the spike in Bitcoin, the spike in gold, and the troubles we're seeing brewing around the world. These troubles are going to continue to brew, and people need to figure out how to protect their assets. And so tell us about this conference you have coming up in October that's going to teach people how to do just that.
It's going to be very exciting. This conference is going to really take on a life of its own, I believe. But what it will, first of all, is educate people upon the importance of protecting your assets, but also how to start to build a new infrastructure around the world on eradicating these old massive control grids that we have with the banking system, the government, and all other entities that are in control of the current system, and how we could rebuild without even the need of a bloody revolution. We could just rebuild underneath the surface and create solutions that will eventually, bubble up through the economy and come to slowly just have these entities dice off. although I do think that it's not going to be that way with the banking system and the government, they're not going to give up all that power so easily. But I think the importance of educating people, which we will be doing at our conference, about the importance of using, for example, blockchain technology in your business to revitalize your business, be extremely competitive compared to other dying entities out there, which are not willing to use this technology. Of course, there's good and bad to it, so we're going to talk about those things as well, the importance of understanding the two and using this for good and not for evil, because blockchain could, of course, be used for evil as well as good. So it's a two-edged sword technology. But we're going to educate everybody about the importance of how you could take the next step in your business and in the economy by implementing all these blockchain solutions to businesses, to removing most of the government. You could do with having a system like a blockchain completely in not in control, but just being there. So you have, let's say, instead of the majority rules to minority, you just have a voting grid that you see what people want at any given time, and then the society could decide to maybe have a little bit of government if they want to. I personally, I'm an anarcho-capitalist, so I wouldn't push that forward. But I think these ideas of implementing these structures and having it in a voluntary way into the economy will really benefit everybody that's out there, and everybody that has knowledge about blockchain, but also about the power that cryptocurrency has, will really, I believe they would really, and this is my opinion, but I really think that they would thrive throughout the next crisis if they are on top of it, understanding, the power that gold and silver has throughout, 5,000 years, but also understand the new emerged technology of cryptocurrencies and how that really will empower you instead of disempower you, because that's what's happening now in the current economy, where you get disempowered by being shoved down a bottomless pit of debt by the banks, making you dependent on them, and you basically have no independence anymore. And of course, they're pushing for a cashless society through blockchain here in Canada and a whole bunch of other places. So they're really trying to take your livelihoods away from you and make you a slave to the whole system. But what we're trying to do at our conference is really not just enlighten you, but empower you to be able to take changes in your own hands and go to your local communities and start implementing what you've learned and really create a thriving economy within the big, the destructive economy. And then at one point when that economy falls, you have a replacement system that is way better off than a fiat currency system has shown us so many times when it's failed throughout history, Dan.
I think that's such a smart strategy moving forward. We have to stay 2 steps ahead and prepare ourselves for what we know is coming. So I think it's a really exciting time to be involved in this space, especially, with people like you who are such forward thinking on this. So I would really encourage people to check it out if you're in the Winnipeg area, or if you can make it there. winnipegcryptoconference.com is the website. Links will be located in the description below. I strongly suggest you to check it out. You'll learn about gold, you'll learn about cryptocurrencies, and can protect yourselves moving forward. So John, thank you so much.
And Dan, sorry to interrupt you right before you do your outro, but make sure you put in PFT so you get 10% off your ticket.
There you go. If you use promo code PFT, you will get 10% off. That helps me, that helps you, that helps John. Win, win, win all around. So definitely please do that if you are interested in going. Once again, John Sneisen, thank you so much for talking to us today.
Thank you, Dan.
We all want truth. The truth will set you free.